I am so very pleased to welcome you all to Nazareth College for an evening of inspiration. I am very honored to be president of Nazareth College. My name is Beth Paul. True to Nazareth's mission, this evening's program is a collaborative community effort. My esteemed colleague, President Dr. Dellenna Harper, president of Monroe Community College, and I are grateful to our community partners, Dr. Myra and the Ywca of Rochester and Monroe County, and Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield, our title sponsor, for collaborating in bringing you tonight's annual Stand Against Racism 2022 program. I must say this is a particularly special collaboration, as Dellenna graced the Ywca, Monroe Community College, and Nazareth College by engaging us in her life-seeking journey. It's also very special to welcome Dellenna Harper back to Nazareth College, one of her academic homes. Dellenna is an alumna of Nazareth College and Monroe Community College, and I know that Dr. Harper and I share very great pride in our alumna. Dellenna powerfully exemplifies Nazareth College's mission, our vision, this is our vision, to be a leader of transformative education through action for social justice, preparing and inspiring courageous changemakers for their life's work. Dellenna, you are a courageous changemaker, fighting your way to yourself and your life's purpose, and changing lives by sharing your story and lifting others with understanding, strength, and faith. Honoring you is a true joy, and it is such a wonderful way to celebrate Women's History Month and Social Work Month. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. If at any point in the evening you feel the need to speak with someone to process or to seek support, the social work faculty are all here, my esteemed colleagues, wearing purple shirts, and they will be in the lobby. They're in the back right now, and they will be in the back and the lobby. There you go. It is now my honor to introduce Dr. Myra, President and Chief Executive Officer at the Ywca of Rochester and Monroe County, to introduce our honored speaker. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Paul, and the wonderful faculty and staff here at Nazareth College for hosting us. So, Dellenna Harper is a licensed master social worker whose passion is advocating for and working with formerly incarcerated women who struggle with mental health, substance abuse, trauma, and self-care. This passion was conceived from her own personal issues, struggling with addiction, incarceration, and everything else that comes with that lifestyle. Dellenna is currently the director of Hope Harbor and Harvest Hills housing programs at the Salvation Army in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She was previously the director of Spiritus Christi Prison Outreach, Jennifer House in Rochester, New York, where she was a resident in the early 2000s. Dellenna resided at the Ywca of Rochester and Monroe County in the supportive living program prior to moving into her own place. She was a member of the Ywca Board of Directors and a member of the Racial Justice Subcommittee. She was the chair of the Racial Justice Committee of the Ywca for 1 year. Dellenna has always been an active participant in the stand against racism. I came to know Dellenna many years ago when we were paired as thought partners in a leadership coaching certificate program. We quickly went from classmates to friends. She shared with me a mantra that she lived by: what comes from the heart touches the heart. I present to you Ms. Dellenna Harper as she shares her heart with us.
Good evening. I am nervous, and they messed around and gave me permission to curse. So, thank you so much. It's beautiful to be here. I was raised up in this community. I'm a crier, and I curse, so cry with me. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for the Rochester community, and it feels good to be home. It really does. And I get to see all my friends, like I'm looking out and I'm seeing people that were intricate in my journey. And I'm among my family members. So if I mess up or curse, whatever, you guys are still gonna love me, right? All right. So I'm just gonna, my life it's really not that different from a lot of others. I just had the opportunity to meet someone who helped me write mine down. And I'm not minimizing my story. I am so grateful that like I've had the opportunity to live 2 lives in 1 lifetime, you know? And I've learned so much, and I have so much support. Like God picked me up from the gutter. I was in the gutter for 15 years, and God saved my life. I don't want you to think that like we're in church or anything, but I believe that it was not me who changed my life. It was God. It really was. So if you don't have a power greater than yourself, that's fine. Use mine. And I'm gonna, and the addiction, like the addiction doesn't discriminate. I met so many addicts, doctors, lawyers, politicians, you know, and then, you know, there's people like me. I grew up in the suburbs of Cottage Grove, the suburbs of Minnesota. And my parents moved us out there because they thought we would get a better education. They did have a better education out there, but they didn't realize that I would be bullied and tormented by the color of my skin. You know, I was speaking to the Nazareth students earlier today, and sharing with them that I remember coming home from school asking my mother, like, what's a jigaboo? You know, and like they were calling me niggers today at school today. And my mom was just like so appalled. My dad, so let me tell you, my mother, she's very fair-skinned. She could pass for white. And it's interesting because I can tell her family because I see these 3 little white girls with all these black children, and that's my mom's family. And my mother she just looks white, but she's not. On her birth certificate, it says Negro. And, you know, she was explaining to me like the 1 drop law, where if you have 1 drop of African ancestry, and then also like people could literally cross state lines and change their race depending on the laws of what that state is would determine if you're black or white. And that's just an indication that like race is man-made. It's not real. However, racism is. You know, so I grew up being ostracized for my skin color, and my dad was like, you know, if somebody calls you and we're all adults, so I'm just gonna say it, if somebody calls you a nigger, those are fighting words. You know, and if you don't fight them, you're gonna come home and your brothers and sisters are gonna whoop you. And I got 6 brothers and sisters. I'm the baby of 7, okay? And I never really was like a fighter, because I always had them. Why do I have to fight? But my dad, you know, he went up to the school and he's finding out who these children are, and he's trying to do something different, talking to the parents, you know, letting them know that we're here to stay. And we had to go through all of that because of the color of my skin. Just because of the color of my skin, like that's what we had to go through. And at that age, I just want to be accepted. I just want to belong. I just want to be a part of something. And I was ostracized. You know, my brother who was he was in high school. You know, I thought he had it a lot better because he had all these girls after him. But I was recently talking to him, and he was telling me that, yeah, the girls may have liked me, but the parents didn't. You know, and he was a black male, light-skinned male. He looked like me. You know, so one of the things that I know is racism is taught. we learn it from our experiences, our beliefs. It's stemmed in hatred and ignorance and fear. Fear. You know, and instead of getting to know me, they just ostracized me. And because of that, I grew up hating myself. I grew up not liking Dellenna. I grew up being embarrassed to be black. Like, I didn't want my dad showing up to my band or my choir recitals because he was black, but my mom can come because she would pass. I was ashamed of who I was, which kind of laid the ground for the addiction later on. You know, I eventually went to a different high school where we had a lot of races there. And I was praised for my skin color, the light skin. I was praised for the texture of my hair and my lips. So I went from thinking I wasn't shit to thinking I was the shit. There was no balance in between. So it's kind of like I almost became the bully. And still, both extremes, it's not healthy. Long story short, I graduated from high school and I had my daughter, who I absolutely adore. She's been my biggest fan, and she's somebody that I hurt tremendously, one of the family members that I hurt, you know? So I started smoking marijuana, and it graduated to other things, crack cocaine, heroin, anything that you had. We didn't know anything about mollies and all that stuff they do today. I don't know anything about that stuff, thank God. I can only imagine what these kids these days are going through. So we, anything. I don't know when I crossed the line to when I stopped using the drugs and they started using me. It's such a thin line, because in the beginning, like, it was fun. You know, I could control it, and I don't know when I couldn't anymore. And then it just became like I just wanted to stop. And then it's like I needed it to survive. And I was doing anything. And I wasn't the type of person to harm another person to get my needs met, but I would harm myself. My best asset and the time in my thinking was my body. So I sold my body to get my next fix. And I did that for 15 years. I had my family hostage in their own house. I stole from them. I lied to them. My family, I come from a family of police officers. I have my brother who was a police officer. I have several cousins who are police officers. My uncle was the chief of police at one time. And it's like they would, you know, the police would stop me, and they're like, "Aren't you so-and-so's brother?" And I'm like, or sister, and I'm like, "No, I don't know who you're talking about." They're like, "Well, we're gonna call your brother. Please don't call him. Just take me to jail. Do not call my brother. Just take me to jail." You know, and it was just a lot of shame and guilt, because my brother, he's like, is and always has been my hero, and he's also been a supporter too. I remember when I was in prison doing time and down in Texas, and I got a letter from my brother, and it's in the book, and he said something along the lines of, you know, we executed a warrant today on a house, and we went into the back room, and it was in disarray, and I saw a woman on a mattress with no sheets. I saw you. I saw a light-skinned girl, and I saw a baby. I saw you, and I saw Dellenna. He said, so every time when I see someone out there, I see you. He said, I know I'm not supposed to be giving prostitutes rides, but when I see them and they're cold, I give them a ride. What he did was, he saw the humanity in people. He saw their humanity. He looked past the situation, the circumstances, and he saw their humanity. Now, I'm going to say it's a lot of stuff going on today with the criminal justice system, specifically the police in Minnesota, and not just in Minnesota, and here and all over. And the police, there's a lot of good police officers. I need to say that too, because I got a lot of help, but then I've been harmed by some police officers too. And I think there's just good and bad people, just to keep it real simple. I don't like saying good and bad, but just to keep it simple, there's good and bad doctors, there's good and bad teachers, there's good and bad people. They just happen to be police officers and cashiers and lawyers, you know. But he taught me how to see the humanity in people, you know, and then my experiences, my parents instilled morals and values in me, so I knew right from wrong, and I would be the type of person that was out in the streets using drugs and, you know, fighting someone one day, and then I would see them hungry the next day and I would buy them something to eat. Because my mother and father always told me, you never turn anybody down on any food. I don't care who it is, what they've done. If somebody is hungry, you feed them. Now, I know out there in the streets, you're supposed to have like the survival of the fittest. You can't be kind and loving to everyone because everybody will run over you. Well, I'm here to tell you, I got ran over a lot when I first got out there. I learned things the hard way. You know, I jokingly say that when I was selling my body, I learned the hard way to get the money up front. You know, anytime you do something, you have to get the money up front because people will get over on you. And a lot of you may not understand that, but my tribe does, you know, and I learned that the hard way. I'm just grateful for these lessons that I've learned. So what I'm saying is I've made a lot of mistakes. I hurt a lot of people. My family, my daughter, I gave her up. Anything that got in the way of me getting high had to go, including her. You know, I've hurt so many people, but it's like I do not allow my past to hold me hostage today. My past is my past. But I will say that I will never close the door on it because I am the person that I am today because of my past. It's something about growth through struggle and pain. You know, it's like you got to go through the storm in order to get to the other side. And then you come out on the other side a whole nother person, you know? The two lives in one lifetime. I'm just so grateful today. Not many people have that opportunity. And I'm just grateful like I didn't die. I didn't die physically because I was dead spiritually. And I don't know if that's worse, but that's pretty damn bad. I remember walking out in the streets like a fucking zombie. Like The Walking Dead, that movie, that was me on Lyle, on Driving Park, watching life go by, using against my will, because at that time I wanted to stop using, but I couldn't. So when we're working with addicts, and just to tell them, just don't use, that's some bullshit. You can't tell an addict that. You know, first of all, they gotta be done. I had to be done. There was so many times people helped me. There was so many places that I could go when I was ready. I knew where to go and what I needed to do when I was ready. I knew what I needed to do. I just needed to get a couple clean days under my belt to do it and then be willing to stay. Allow people to help me and not tell them how to help me. You know, and humble myself. So I can't tell you how many treatment centers I've been in, and they teach the same information, the same thing. All 12 to 15 treatment centers I've been in, it's the same information, you know, but it was different this last time because I was done. And it wasn't anything physically that helped me to be done. I was just tired. We have a saying in my recovery community, just tired of being sick and tired. And I was tired. I was spiritually bankrupt. And people tell me that I was going to hell because I would always carry a Bible with me, and I would be praying and reading the Bible while I was smoking crack. And people would like, you're going to hell. And I'm like, this is when I need them the most. I would stand on the corner and I would sing gospel songs. I would forget the words, but I would hum them, and I would say, just help me. Just help me. What is it gonna take? So I started praying for action, because I talked about being clean and I thought about it, but it was hard for me to put some action towards it. So anytime you do something and you make a decision, you gotta put some action towards it. And what do we say? Decision implies action, you know? So when I got arrested, February 16th, 2006, that's the day God picked me up from the gutter. And when those police officers told me they were undercover police officers, I breathed a sigh of relief. Like, this is it. This is what I've been praying for. And I went to that jail downtown. Usually when you get picked up on a prostitution charge, they keep you for 7 days and they check you for STDs and then let you go before you get your results, which I think is the stupidest thing. Because first of all, they're wasting taxpayers' money, you know. But I remember, let me back up, a previous time when that was my second time getting picked up on prostitution, and they tested me, and they let me go, and I went back to doing what I was doing, and I guess I tested positive for chlamydia or gonorrhea or something, and the health department came knocking on the door of the house I was staying at one time. And they knocked like they were the police. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was getting high at the time, so they were interrupting me. And I went down there and I'm like, who is it? They're like, it's the health department, we're so-and-so. And so I knew immediately what it was about. And I opened the door and I'm like, they said, do you know Dellenna Harper? I said, yeah, but when you see that B, you tell her I want my money. And I slammed the door in their face. Like, I don't have time to go down and get a shot in the booty. I'm getting high right now. And, like, that's the insanity. That is so insane. That's crazy. Because people who are on drugs, like me, we don't think straight. We don't think logically. We can't just not use. You know, I just told you I was using against my will. So back to the last time when I got arrested, they took me down to downtown, and a part of me wanted to do something different. A part of me wanted to go back to what I was used to, but I was scared. They ended up sending me out to Henrietta for something, and thank God they did, because there was a group out there, the Jennifer House, Spiritus Christi Prison Outreach. And let me tell you about that community. That's my tribe, too. That community walks out their faith through service. They don't just talk it, they walk it. When I can't even go there, but they walk it. And it's so amazing. You talk about going into the prisons and visiting people and then walking with them when they're being released on their journey into the world. That's what we do. That's what they did with me. Judy Simpson found me in the jail. You know, they do so many great things. And really quick, like, they're a Catholic church that's not recognized by the diocese because they're a bunch of rebels. They're a bunch of heroes in my eyes. Father Jim was excommunicated, which I think is the coolest thing. And I believe that they're not recognized because they believe they welcome all faiths up to the table, the communion table. They believe in gay marriages, and they believe in women leadership of the church, which I think is the shit. I'm like, I work for a bunch of rebels. And like, this is awesome. At that time, I was living there though, but I'm like, wow, they're like me. You know, they go against the grain. Like, they stood up for what they believed in and lost their jobs. Yeah. And I'm like, and the people that I met there, like, they're my mentors. You got the Jim Smiths, of course, the Michael Bouchers. I absolutely love him. And Eileen, she's like this tall. and she's mighty. She's like a mighty little lion. And Father Jim, and I call her Mother Myra, and Mother Mary. They're Reverend Myra and Reverend Mary, but Father Jim, why not Mother Myra and Mother Mary? I mean, so it's just an awesome community with Judy Simpson, you know. And I remember at this house, there was this woman who was a nurse, and she used to come to the Jennifer house on birthdays and make birthday cakes. She made these beautiful cakes. You know, she ended up passing away. And around the same time that my friend who I talk about in the book passed away, Simone. You know, but there's just so many gifts that was given to me in this community. The Spiritus Christi Prison Outreach Jennifer House connected me back to my morals and values that my parents instilled in me, you know, which I had lost when I didn't lose them, I just put them on the back burner. I always had them, you know, and so I slid under the door of the Jennifer House. I left the Jennifer House on my knees and moved into the YWCA, and they kind of took my life to another level. No, I allowed them to help me to take my life to another level. My counselor there, Jeanette, who I absolutely love, I often think about her. You know, we would meet, and she helped me to understand that, Dellenna, you're not your behaviors. You are not your behaviors. So we're talking about like healing. I had a lot of healing to do from the prostitution. I didn't know how to be in a healthy relationship. I didn't know the difference between love and sex. Sex was a tool to me that I used to get what I wanted. So I didn't know. And I feel like I'm just being really naked and exposing myself right now. And I really don't care because I'm not the only one in here who has this issue. So I know I'm not. But I didn't know the difference between love. But remember, I told you the only thing I thought I had of value was my body. So when the Y helped me to stand up on my feet, you know, and the Y was my safe haven, and I protected my recovery. You know, when my friends came back using, I took them to the counselor and I told them, she's got something she's got to tell you, because my recovery, I'm trying to recover here. You know, you can't come back in here high. I was scared because I wanted to use. I just made a decision not to every day because I didn't want to go back. I wanted to live more. How about that? I wanted to live more than I wanted to use. I liked living. And in the beginning, I didn't always get it right. I broke a lot of rules, and I lied to people at the Jennifer house, which they probably don't even know. I did a lot of sneaky shit at the Y, but hey, I didn't pick up, and look at me now. No. So in order to build my self-esteem, Jeanette, my counselor, helped me to do esteemable things. And the recovery community, which I can't mention, the recovery community, they accepted me just as I am because they're just as crazy as I am, probably crazier. I'm probably the most normal one in the recovery community in the Rochester area. So notice how the most normal one. And Jeanette had me go back to school, you know, and I'm trying to study for the acuplacer, and her and my sponsor, Kim V, who I dedicated the book to, who passed away, and the young lady that picked me up from the Jennifer house, Wanda, recently passed away too. So I just wish they were here today. I really do. And I know they are. But Jeanette had me go to the MCC, and I got in, and when the lady was asking me questions like, well, what do you want to do? And she was asking me all these questions, and I didn't know. Instead of saying I don't know, you know, because I'm thinking I'm supposed to know, she's asking questions about me. I felt really inadequate. I felt stupid. And I walked out of there. I told her I'm not supposed to be here. I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be here. And I walked out of there. And I saw this other recovering addict who I know in the program who had some disabilities and who was at school. And I was just like, if he can do this shit, I know I can do this. I didn't say it that nice. If you want to know how I really said it, you got to read the book. But I was just like, and I love that dude today. He passed away too. Like, you know, But I'm like, if he did it, I can. He was my hope shot. So I turned around and I told the lady, I went back in there and she started asking me those same questions, and I told her, I don't know. And when I told her I don't know, she was able to help me. That was the moment that I learned that, like, I can say I don't know. I don't have to know, you know? And I started my journey at MCC. I graduated I was one of the first graduates of the addictions counseling program. I know I wanted to help people, I just didn't know how. I started out in the human services and ended in the addictions counseling program, top 15 of my class with over a 4.0 GPA. I thought I was done. But I have this habit, God has this habit of putting people in my life who just push me to areas of uncomfortability, areas of places that I don't want to go, but where I need to be. Though I'm talking about Judy Simpson. She likes to do shit like that, you know. So where you going to school now, Dellenna? I'm like, I'm done. Like I graduated with over a 4.0 GPA. She's like, you got to go on. I'm like, okay. So she said, well, where do you want to go to school? What about Nazareth? We had our Spirit Christi Prison Outreach board meetings at Nazareth. I said, well, they got pretty golden and purple tulips. I like that campus. It's pretty in the spring, you know, so I went there. She got me a scholarship here, and I ended up going in the social work program, which was a blessing. Here I met some more of the Spirit Christi tribe, and you guys are all over. It's good, though. You know, doing good work. And now I'm doing good work, and I'm part of the tribe too. But I came here and I went into the social work program, and I learned how to write. I had May Dr. Evans, rest in peace. She would give us these assignments, and she would totally mark up like the first 2 or 3 pages. And like I would get my paper back and think I failed or something. But then the rest of the other 15 pages and I would see I got an A on it. And I'm like, well, dang. And she said she was going to do that. But those markings on my paper taught me to be a better writer. You know, and so she critiqued me in my writing, which is what I needed. So it helped me to take constructive criticism, which is what we need to learn how to do in life. You know, and so I would write papers for my other teachers. And if they didn't mark my paper up, I would hand it back to them. You need to mark my paper up. Like, I need some feedback, you know? Like, I'm open to feedback today. And I'm so grateful for that. And just the little lessons that I learned in school. You know, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2011, and I remember them saying, you know, Dellenna Harper, cum laude, and I'm like, why are they speaking Spanish behind my name? I did not know that that was Latin and it meant with honors. Nobody told me I graduated with honors, you know. So I was like, oh, but then Judy said, where are you going now? And I'm like, geez, Judy, you know. So I went on and got my master's degree, and just doing the internship there, like I learned that I had a voice at the Jennifer House. I started using my voice at the YWCA. And my whole academic career, they taught me how and when to use my voice. And like, I've never stopped using my voice today. And I love speaking up for people that can't speak up for themselves, because somebody did that to me. And just like, I have to give myself a break on the things that I've done. You know, yeah, I did a lot of bad things. I hurt a lot of bad people. I lost myself. I hurt myself. You know, abandoned my daughter, stole from my mother, and the list can go on. But I'm not doing that today. You know, and I remember when I was using, I just prayed for my mom and dad to see me clean. I didn't know in 2017 I was going to go home. Like in February, I just celebrated 16 years clean. And in 2017, I went back to Minnesota to take care of my father. My mother was in an accident. Everything that I learned here, this community raised me up, instilled in me all kinds of skills, values, knowledge, wisdom wiped me off and sent me back home to take care of my parents and to show up for my family in a way that I never could have. When I went back home, I didn't like slide back into the family role. I was able to slide into the family as Dellenna, the one I am now, and with boundaries and honest. I'm an honest person today with dignity and self-respect. So no, you're not gonna be talking to me like that. Let's switch up how you're talking to me. I don't talk to you like that. My brothers and sisters, they just think because I'm the baby, they can bully me. Well, I don't think so. I got 2 degrees, so that's just how I am with my brothers and sisters. It's like, I'm the last one. They got it right with me. So, but my family, like they kept me alive in my absence. My daughter is the love of my life. I got engaged. The Christmas before last, I got engaged. And like I know the difference between sex and love today. I still have some healing to do, because life is like an onion. When I think I've worked on some things, some feelings come up, and I'm like, I got to do some more work when some feelings come up. Carrie, how am I on the time? Okay. So one of the most important things that I can leave with you today is allow yourself to feel your feelings. Our feelings are what makes us human. I had to stop running from my feelings. It's okay. It's what I do with the feelings that makes them bad or good, And it's like, just be easy with yourself. Be gentle. I'm my worst critic. If you want to beat your ass, put down the bat and pick up a feather, Just be gentle with yourself and be open to your mistakes. Be open to not only your mistakes, but the mistakes of others, and make new mistakes, because you're making the same mistake, that's a problem. But if you're making new mistakes, you're taking risk, and that's growth. And also, when you see people, when you're working with people and the cashier at the Target is being real sassy and feisty, look at her humanity. You don't know what kind of day she had. Look past people's situations and circumstances. And when you're working with the people, like if you're in the helping field, if you're working with people, see their humanity. See them for, we are not our behaviors. We are not our decisions. We just make bad decisions and do bad things sometimes, And I don't know, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be alive today. You never know somebody's story or where they came from or what they're recovering from. You never know. So give people a break. And I really appreciate you showing up. I'm glad to see a lot of people that I haven't seen. Thank you so much for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Coming all the way from the Finger Lakes. Like, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Not about the questions.
Didn't I tell y'all she was going to share her heart? Yes. Yes, so we are, as folks are gathering and getting questions together, I'm just trying to say, are those questions that you're getting on the note cards coming to me? They're coming to me, all right. So they'll come on up. In the meantime, we'll get started. Now, one other last announcement. That book that Dellenna is talking about, it's all in here. It's in the book. The book is called God's Teardrop, My Journey of Healing from Addiction and Prostitution by Dellenna Harper with Jane Sutter Brandt. There's a table in the lobby where you can purchase the books. She'll take cash, Venmo, Cash App, all of that. For my friends on Zoom, it is available on Amazon. And after our session here, Dellenna will be around for a couple of minutes to answer questions. Now, my last housekeeping item, just as a reminder, because these topic areas, they do touch all of us in different ways. And if you have some emotions coming up, our friends in purple from the social work department. Please raise your hands once again. I saw you around. Our friends here at Nazareth College Social Work Department are here to just help us work through some of those feelings, because Dellenna is right. We need to learn how to feel, right, so we don't suppress. So I'm going to just grab the first question. You folks feel free to make your way to the mic if you have questions.
In an orderly fashion. Orderly. I know how some of you can get.
So, my friend, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you, too. It's
Yes.
good to be home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is home. So they gave me just a whole bunch of gadgets and stuff here, and I'm going to rearrange myself. So our first question, how do you keep the motivation to stay clean and sober?
Well, I have one thought, one thing that I did in active addiction that I never want to do again, and I'm not going to share it here because it is extremely graphic. And so I just think about that. And I don't want to go back to that. And as long as I don't ever have to do that again. Never. Because that's what it's going to come to at the end of the day when it's all said and done. So that's how one of the ways I keep my motivation. But also, it's just, my life is so full today. I have a new grandson, he is the love of my life, and my fiance, and my bonus son, my son, and I have a family. Nothing will beat this, what I have today. Like, my worst day clean is so much better than my best day getting high, and we say that in my recovery community, but it's just like I'm living today. I don't want to be existing. So that in itself is motivation.
Wow, that's powerful. So you write in your book here, women stopped treating me like a whore when I stopped acting like one. That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So when I came into recovery, I just stopped using the drugs. I still had the behaviors and the thinking and all of that other. I still dressed the same. And it's funny because I was going to court in like mini skirts and stilettos and little tank tops. I don't know why, because I looked like a little twig. But, and I was going to the meetings all dressed up and walking to the coffee pot. And I was going for the wrong reasons. I was attention seeking. So, and the women pulled me aside and they had to tell me things like how to be a lady, where I come from, and I'm just gonna say this because we're all adults and I'm just gonna keep it very honest with you. When I was using, we didn't wear underwear. When I came into recovery, I didn't see the need for it. But I had some women that had to tell me, thank you, that's identification. Thank you, I know you understand. I had women tell me, teach me, let me know how I could dress. You don't need to show everything like that. And they didn't say it in a mean way, and so they taught me I had to be taught how to be a lady and how to carry myself, stay out of men's faces. You never know who's married and who's not, and you don't want to start any trouble, and they just really taught me how to carry myself, and nobody taught me that. I had to learn that, so. That's what I mean by that.
Thank you for sharing. Question over here.
First of all, I just want to say I am so proud of you. Mine is not more of a question because I have followed you your whole recovery, even when you left here and went on Facebook. I just want to say the motivation that you have with your parents, taking care of them. What strengthens you to put everything that you wanted to come to take care of them and others and still stand on your own 2 feet?
This community, what this Rochester community did for me, like I said, they raised me up mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and I was able to walk away from my life here in Rochester, knowing that my work that I started, it's done for now, and it's time for a new chapter, and every ending, there's a beginning. And when my mother was in an accident, I had to go home because my siblings, they can't handle my father. That's a whole nother story, my father. If you guys follow me on Facebook, my dad is a piece of work, and I love him. And just being able to show up like that, that's the motivation. And my family supported me. They supported me in my absence, you know, after they learned how to stop enabling me. They're my biggest, I'm just family. I value family. It's the most important thing to me. So I knew I had to go home because my brothers and sisters would probably, my dad would not be living.
Right. Well, I thank you, and keep coming back to Rochester, because you know we are family.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, Dr. Hilson, do we have any questions in the chat?
Actually, we do. First of all, your cousin Deandra from Texas says hello, and she expects a signed copy when you come visit. The first question is kind of two parts. Can you tell us about where your daughter is today and how you've rebuilt that relationship? And the second part is, what would you recommend to others who have guilt?
So, my daughter is currently at my house with my grandson. I know because she's called me like 7 times today. And our relationship, when she first came up here, when I was living at the Ywca, you know, I would go to these women's groups and I would ask them questions like, I don't know this little girl coming to see me. I don't know what her favorite color is. I don't know anything about her. So they told me to get a journal and they gave me some suggestions. The bottom line is I asked for help and I got it. Mm-hmm. And when my daughter came, I allowed her the space to tell me how she felt about the decisions that I made and how it impacted her. And it felt like somebody pushed a dagger in me and wheeled it around, and you know, it hurt like hell. But that was her truth. I did that stuff, and I validated her feelings, and I sat and I listened and I let her get that stuff out. And I just loved her afterwards, you know, and we continue to have an open relationship today. So that was the start of the relationship that we have. And she's been my biggest fan. She's been coming up here every summer. She's part of the recovery community too. So, and the second part, what was the second part again?
What recommendations do you have to others who are dealing with issues of guilt?
So, first of all, I have to recognize if it's real guilt or false guilt. Because a lot of times I'll find myself feeling guilty for some stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with me, just because I'm self-centered and I think everything is my fault, you know. But with the guilt, again, I have to forgive myself and like making amends. And when I say making amends, it's so much more than just like I'm saying I'm sorry. You know, and all of this is stuff that I learned in my recovery community, you know, changing the behavior, making situations right. And sometimes people aren't going to forgive you, but forgiveness is for me, you know, and I forgive others, so, because I want to be forgiven too, but it definitely is a process. And letting go, so.
Yeah, thank you for that. Do you think faith is needed for recovery, and how did your faith impact your recovery?
So it depends on what your definition of faith is. Who wrote that question? Like, I don't know what their definition of faith is. For me, I needed something that was greater than me and that was loving and was caring. Not everybody recovers like how I did, and that's fine. You know, so for me, I did need faith for my recovery. But again, people find recovery and lead successful lives in many different ways. I just know the way that I recovered is a way.
All right, just want to do an audience check. If there are any questions in the audience, again, and you don't feel like coming up to the microphone, there is a runner with the microphone, so just raise your hand. Someone's coming up right behind you on your left. Yes. Yes.
My question was, hey, I love you. Can I come give you a hug? I haven't seen you in so many years. Thank you for being a guiding light. I'm one of the tribe. This book, the way you shared today, thank you, because that little scared girl that was abused now knows she has a voice.
I know that voice.
I'm doing the other half. I'm coming to get a hug. G.
I can't tell her no. She's
I
not
got
taking
it.
no
That's
for
all
an
right. Let me
answer.
give me your mic. There you go.
I love you.
Yeah, that's the power of community. Yes.
Yes.
So, in the beginning of your recovery, what was the hardest thing to change so you could move forward?
My thinking. I had to change the way that I thought, not only about myself, but situations and circumstances, because you're thinking, the way we think and the messages that we tell ourselves is so powerful and so important, you know, because remember when I said, like, I thought the only thing that I had was my body, as that was my only asset, like, I am a sharp individual, I am beautiful, I am smart, look.
Say that.
Okay, I bring so much to the table.
that.
I am employable today, and I can get a little down and dirty, you know, and classy. So, and that was the hardest thing for me to change, was my thinking. So I really had to learn ways to change the way that I thought. And when I changed the way that I thought about myself, when I started viewing myself in a more positive view, I started viewing the world, the way I viewed the world changed. It was amazing. So it wasn't other people, places, and things that changed, it was me, and I changed, and my thinking changed.
Awesome. So you are employable. You are a licensed social worker.
Correct.
And this question talks about the service systems. And in your opinion, what needs to change to do better to meet the needs of people struggling with addiction?
That's a complex question.
And we have 3 minutes.
Because a lot of people. So, I mean, like, if people want to be helped, there's help out there now.
Yeah.
And that's just really the bottom line. Sometimes people, I think we just, more preventative measures. Instead of treating people after they're using, let's talk about doing things to prevent people to go to the drugs, like teaching kids how to feel, you know, and yes. So that's my answer to that.
Thank you for that.
That's a great question.
It is a great question. In our last, maybe one of the faculty here can take it and pose it to their social work students. In our last minute here, how did you become comfortable with your sobriety and talking about it?
I know once I was in the recovery community I belonged to, because I was thinking that I was the only one that did these things. But when I heard somebody else sharing some stuff, I was like, oh my God. You know, I even heard people sharing like my story. It wasn't my story, but it was them. And I'm like, oh my God, I did that too, like the Me Too. You know, not to mock that, but there's some comfort in identification. So that's what gave me a lot of courage to just, it's different talking about the things that I've done in the recovery community, but like to you today and to put this book out, I felt naked and exposed, but I know it's helped somebody. It's already helped people. Yeah. So I'm okay with that was my goal, so.
Well, thank you, Dellenna. Dellenna will be out in the lobby for a few moments to greet you all. Again, the book is there for sale out front. For my folks on Zoom, you can purchase it on Amazon. God's Teardrop, My Journey of Healing from Addiction and Prostitution by Dellenna Harper. I invite my friend Dr. Gant up to close us out. Dellenna, you and I will transition.
So again, good evening. My name is Dr. Calvin Gant, and I'm the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Belonging, as well as the Executive Director for the Downtown Campus for Monroe Community College. And so I bring greetings to you all on behalf of our President, Dr. Deanna Burton-Nana, who's MCC's 6th President, And in light of our celebration today in terms of Women's History Month, she's also the second female president at MCC and the college's first president of color. So I thought that important to make sure that we talked about today. I also want to once again thank Dellenna for an amazing keynote and for inspiring others with her story. On behalf of the planning team, too many to mention, but it took an army of people to put this event together. I want to thank everyone for your participation in that. For us at MCC, this is a part of our Essential Discussions conference, and our goal through this conference is to create an inclusive community for those who choose to call Monroe County home. As a community, we need to celebrate our successes, and Dellenna's success is, in fact, our success. And with all that's going on in the world, we need hope in the face of adversity and pain. So again, Dellenna, thank you so much for your story. And as Myra mentioned, after this event, we invite everyone out into the lobby for a moment to just say hello to Dellenna, hopefully purchase a book, and we wish you all the best in your journey home this evening, and have a good evening.